This book didn't just change the way I handle my finances, it transformed my entire perspective on money, and I genuinely believe it could do the same for anyone willing to read it. Sure, on the surface, it looks like a typical personal finance guide, one of those books that'll tell you how to save a few dollars here or make smarter investments there. But as I dove deeper, I realized it was so much more than that. It wasn't just about the numbers or the budgets, it was about reshaping my mindset, helping me see how my beliefs about money were actually shaping my life, my choices, and my future. This book guided me to look beyond the surface questions, like, how can I save more, or how can I earn a little extra? Instead, it pushed me to explore why I felt limited by money in the first place, why financial stress seemed like a permanent fixture in my life, and, ultimately, how I could redefine my relationship with money to finally feel in control. I realized that money isn't just a tool, it's deeply connected to our sense of self-worth, to how we see the world, and to how much we believe we deserve. What struck me most was how the book challenged my old beliefs, those deep-seated ideas I had never questioned. It felt like the author was speaking to a part of me that had been holding on to fears and doubts about money for years. We're all taught certain things about money as we grow up, aren't we? Things like, money doesn't grow on trees, or, you have to work yourself to the bone if you want to be rich. But here, the book made me realize that these beliefs weren't facts, they were just stories I had inherited, stories that kept me from believing I deserved abundance. And when I saw this, I began to feel a surge of empowerment. If I could change my story, I could change my life. And the impact didn't stop with just me. Changing my perspective on money altered the way I relate to my loved ones, my dreams, and my daily life. Money became something empowering, something that could help me live with purpose instead of with stress or scarcity. It taught me to make choices that align with my values and goals rather than choices rooted in fear. So, if there's one piece of advice I could give after this experience, it's this: take the time to read this book. Let it challenge you, let it push you to question your beliefs, and let it open your mind to a new way of thinking about money. It's more than just a finance book, it's a wake-up call, a guide to living with intention and strength. And once you've gone through it, you'll realize that it's not just your bank account that's changed, it's your entire approach to life. Most of us are taught from a young age that making a living means working hard, clocking in hours, and just hoping we'll have something left over for ourselves when the day is done. But as time goes by, many people realize they're spending the best hours of their day, and the best years of their lives, in jobs that drain them rather than fulfill them. It's as if we're pouring all our energy into a system that rewards us just enough to get by but never truly thrive. We end up feeling like we're merely surviving, making a dime instead of making a living. But what if we could flip this narrative? What if we could take control, not just of our finances, but of our very approach to life? One powerful shift that can help us break free from this cycle is to look at money as something more than just a way to buy things. Instead, it's our life energy. Think about it, every dollar we earn represents a moment of our time, our energy, our skills. Every time we buy something, we're trading a small piece of our lives for it. The question becomes, is it worth it? When we begin treating our money as pieces of our life energy, we naturally start to spend more consciously. That shiny gadget, those trendy clothes, the tempting impulse buys, they all look different when we realize we're exchanging valuable pieces of our life to have them. Instead of spending without thinking, we become mindful. We start asking ourselves, does this truly add joy to my life? Does it reflect what I want to create for myself? Or is it just another thing that will end up collecting dust? Tracking our spending is a way to bring this awareness into our daily lives. It's not just a budgeting tool, it's a path to aligning our purchases with our values. When we track our spending, we start seeing patterns. Maybe there's a lot of money going toward things that don't actually make us happy or give us satisfaction. Maybe we're spending out of habit, boredom, or to impress others. But as we take note of where our money goes, we start to see where we're trading away our life energy for things that don't bring true fulfillment. Imagine what life could be like if, instead of spending on autopilot, every purchase became an act of intention. Each time we spent money, it would be on something that genuinely adds value, something that enriches our life rather than simply fills up space. Instead of feeling drained by the end of the month, we'd feel empowered, knowing that our money, and our energy, is going toward things that truly matter to us. This approach also opens up space for deeper personal growth. When we stop spending out of habit or impulse, we have more resources to invest in things that nurture us, like experiences, learning, health, and relationships. We start building a life that's not just financially secure but emotionally and spiritually satisfying. Every decision, every purchase, becomes a step toward a life filled with purpose and meaning, where our money is a reflection of our true self. In essence, by tracking our spending and seeing money as our life energy, we reclaim control over our lives. We stop letting society or advertisers dictate what we need, and we start making choices that align with our deepest values and desires. This is the difference between living passively and living with intention. It's about creating a life where every dollar spent brings us closer to fulfillment, where we're not just existing but thriving. And that's a kind of wealth that no paycheck alone can buy. This book didn't just change my finances, it completely transformed my perspective on life. We live in a world where more is better is the unspoken mantra, and almost all of us feel its weight. Society has taught us to believe that money is something we should constantly pursue, that if we could just have a little more, then we'd finally feel fulfilled, free, happy. But the reality? We're stuck on a never-ending hedonic treadmill, running harder and faster, yet somehow always feeling empty, like we're not quite where we want to be. What makes this book so powerful is that it offers a solution to this exhausting chase. Vicki introduces an idea that seems so simple but is utterly life-changing, finding our personal point of enough. Imagine that, a point where we no longer feel the need to keep chasing, where we can step off the treadmill and finally start living. This concept of enough challenges everything we've been taught. It's not about denying ourselves or living without, but about discovering what truly satisfies us, what brings us real joy. It's about letting go of the endless pursuit of more and embracing the freedom that comes with enough. And here's the kicker, Robin doesn't just tell us to stop chasing money, she shows us how to start thinking about money as something much deeper. Instead of seeing it as just numbers in an account or bills in a wallet, we start to see money as a direct reflection of our life energy, the most precious resource we have. Every dollar we spend represents a slice of our time, our energy, our life force. Suddenly, money is no longer just a tool for buying things, it's a measure of our life's potential. The things we spend on aren't just purchases, they're decisions about how we choose to spend our one, limited life. When we adopt this perspective, it changes everything. We become mindful of our spending, asking ourselves if each expense is really worth a piece of our life. Is that new gadget worth the hours we put in at work? Is the endless cycle of buying, consuming, and discarding worth the time we're giving up? These questions become gateways to clarity and empowerment. With every choice, we get closer to a life that aligns with our values, a life where we spend on things that genuinely enrich us and let go of the clutter that only weighs us down. Ultimately, this book is more than a guide to managing money, it's a roadmap to freedom. It's about stepping off the hamster wheel and finding peace with what we have, letting go of the relentless push for more. When we learn to appreciate enough, we reclaim our time, our energy, our life. And in doing so, we find something far more valuable than wealth. We find ourselves. Who should read it? Honestly, I believe everyone should read this book. While it's marketed as a personal finance guide, it goes far beyond just teaching us how to save more or budget better. It digs deep into our core beliefs about money, beliefs that many of us don't even realize we carry but that shape our entire lives. Growing up, we're surrounded by certain messages and stigmas about money that seep into our minds. Ideas like, money is the root of all evil, or, you have to work hard, even if you hate it, just to get by. These notions become ingrained and lead us to make choices that often prioritize survival over happiness, making a dying, instead of truly making a living. This book tackles these myths head-on, offering us a chance to reframe the way we view money, work, and spending. It teaches us to see every dollar we spend as a trade of our life energy. After all, every purchase we make isn't just a transaction, it represents hours of our time, energy, and life spent working to earn that money. And when we start thinking about money this way, everything changes. We stop spending impulsively, and we start spending intentionally, aligning our choices with the things that genuinely bring us joy and purpose. Reading this book makes you question every habit, every belief, every choice you make with your money. It empowers you to break free from the cycle of working just to spend, and instead, helps you embrace a life that's deliberate, fulfilling, and focused on what truly matters. You'll start to realize that personal finance isn't just about numbers, it's about creating a life that's meaningful, balanced, and productive. And once you see money through this lens, you won't be able to go back. You'll feel a shift, and suddenly, you'll be focused on making a living that fills you up, rather than just a life that wears you down. So, if you're ready to let go of old, limiting beliefs about money and start living with intention, this book is absolutely for you. It's not just a read, it's a wake-up call. Discovering my point of enough wasn't just a financial breakthrough, it was a life-changing shift that redefined my relationship with money, time, and purpose. Before this realization, I was on a relentless quest for more. More money, more things, more security. It was like I had been running on autopilot, following a script handed to me by society that said more was always better. But once I found my enough, the whole game changed. Suddenly, earning more was no longer the ultimate goal. I could finally pause, breathe, and focus on what actually mattered. With this shift in perspective, I became deeply aware of how I was spending my money. Every dollar spent took on a new significance. It became a representation of my life energy, the hours and effort I'd invested to earn it. Now, before I make a purchase, I ask myself, does this align with my values? Does this reflect who I truly am? Is it worth the time, energy, and moments I spent working to earn it? This shift transformed money from something I simply exchanged for material things to something I used deliberately to build a life that felt meaningful and authentic. In asking these questions, I found myself rethinking every future purchase, big or small. This wasn't about depriving myself or cutting out joy, rather, it was about aligning each decision with the life I wanted to live. It was about freedom, freedom from mindless consumption, from the pressure to keep up with others, from the endless loop of buying and regretting. My purchases stopped being about filling a temporary void, and instead became intentional investments in a life that felt like my own. One of the most surprising outcomes was that I started to notice the things I was spending money on that didn't truly bring me joy. It was eye-opening. I realized that so many of my purchases were simply habits or impulses, things I bought without even thinking, clutter that filled my home but left me feeling empty. This newfound clarity helped me declutter not just my life, but also my bank statements. I started clearing out the items that had piled up over time, things that I bought because they were on sale or because they promised fleeting excitement. Letting go of these items wasn't just about physical space, it was about mental space, too. It was like I was clearing away the static, the noise, the distractions, and making room for what truly mattered. Through this journey, I came to a profound realization that completely changed my perspective. Most money problems aren't just about the numbers in our bank accounts, they're deeply rooted in our identity. I began to see that my spending habits were often driven by a desire to fulfill identities and expectations that didn't even resonate with who I truly am. So many of the things I bought were attempts to fit in, to keep up, or to satisfy a version of myself that I thought I should be. It was a powerful moment when I realized that my self-worth wasn't tied to my net worth, that my value didn't come from what I owned, but from who I was at my core. By finding my point of enough, I began to reconnect with my true self. I untangled my identity from consumerism, from the false belief that having more made me more. This shift gave me a sense of peace and confidence I had never felt before. Instead of looking outward for validation through things, I started looking inward, focusing on what truly brought meaning to my life. I learned to find joy in simplicity, fulfillment in less, and purpose in aligning my actions with my values. Today, every decision I make, every dollar I spend, is no longer just a transaction, it's a statement of who I am and what I stand for. My life feels lighter, more intentional, and filled with clarity. I no longer feel the need to chase more, because I have already found what is enough for me. And in finding this, I discovered a life that feels fulfilling, purposeful, and undeniably my own. This journey wasn't about getting rich or accumulating wealth, it was about reclaiming my life. It was about realizing that true wealth isn't measured in dollars, but in time, in freedom, in peace of mind. I now understand that every dollar I spend, every purchase I make, is a reflection of my precious life energy. And when I look back, I feel empowered knowing that my choices, my actions, my money, all align with a life that I've chosen with intention. It's a life where every moment is spent meaningfully, every dollar is used purposefully, and every choice brings me closer to a life that's truly worth living. When we chase the idea of having it all, we set ourselves up for a life where what we have is never quite enough. In a world where more is always seen as better, the concept of enough becomes elusive, like a horizon we can never reach. Society tells us that happiness is in acquiring more, bigger cars, trendier clothes, the latest gadgets. But if we look deeper, these desires often mask deeper, more genuine needs. We don't really need enormous cars, what we crave is respect. We don't need closets packed with clothes, we long to feel attractive, to experience excitement, variety, and beauty in life. Take electronics, for example. Many of us buy them not because they fulfill a need, but because we're searching for something meaningful to do with our time. We turn to these devices for stimulation, but they're often just placeholders, distracting us from a lack of genuine purpose. At the heart of it, what we truly need are things that material goods can never provide: identity, community, a sense of challenge, acknowledgement, love, and joy. These are the things that nourish us and fulfill us in ways that possessions simply can't. But when we try to satisfy these deep, human needs with things, we only feed a cycle of endless wanting. It's like trying to quench thirst by drinking salt water. The more we consume, the emptier we feel. This unfulfilled longing isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's a driving force behind our society's relentless pursuit of material growth. We fill our lives with things in the hope of filling our hearts, yet the result is often psychological emptiness. It's an emptiness that keeps us coming back for more, because we're looking for solutions in places they simply can't be found. The real issue, then, isn't that we expect too much from life or from work. It's that we've mixed up work with paid employment. We often assume that our work is only what we do to earn a paycheck. But true work, the kind that brings satisfaction, purpose, and pride, isn't limited to what's paid. It can be the time we spend on projects that ignite our passion, the energy we pour into relationships, or the commitment to causes that make a difference. When we untangle our purpose from the concept of employment, we start to see life differently. We find that fulfillment isn't about adding more possessions, but about adding more meaning to what we already do and what we already have. In recognizing this, we're empowered to shift our focus from amassing things to building experiences, relationships, and a life that feels truly satisfying. This change doesn't mean we should never want nice things, but it encourages us to seek out what really brings joy and purpose, so we're no longer caught in an endless chase for more, but can finally start living for what's enough. Today, our jobs often consume so much more than the hours we're paid for. They seep into every corner of our lives, becoming almost an identity, a purpose, a driving force. But in this process, many of us are actually paying a price for having a job, both financially and mentally. We're investing money into work clothes, commuting costs, and even daily caffeine fixes just to stay afloat. Beyond that, there's the toll on our mental and emotional well-being, as we give up energy and time to jobs that may not truly align with who we are or what we want in life. Instead of just working to meet our financial needs, what if we could find work that aligns with our why, our purpose and values, before thinking about the paycheck, prestige, or any of the shoulds society places on us? Finding a role that genuinely resonates with us could free up countless dollars and hours otherwise spent in dissatisfaction and constant reevaluation of our path. The reality is that we're often spending far more than the supposed 40-hour workweek earning a living. The job doesn't start and stop when we clock in or out. We're dedicating time to getting dressed for work, commuting, even mentally preparing ourselves for the day ahead. After work, there's decompression time, the need to unwind from a day's stress, which isn't always easy. Often, even our weekends are spent seeking distraction and escape, filling up on mindless entertainment just to recharge for Monday. When we step back and see the broader picture, it's clear that our jobs don't need to consume us in this way. We don't have to settle for just making a living at the expense of actually living. Instead, we can choose to seek roles, projects, or paths that resonate with our values and our purpose. By doing this, we're not only investing in our own well-being but creating a life where work serves us, not the other way around. The challenge is to break free from the cultural scripts that tell us our worth is defined by our title or income, and instead define our success by how well our work aligns with our purpose. Choosing work that fulfills us not only transforms how we view our careers but allows us to reclaim our time and energy for what truly matters. When we find work that aligns with our values and our why, it's no longer a burden. Instead, it's a part of a balanced life, freeing us to experience fulfillment, joy, and purpose both inside and outside of the workplace. Vicki Robin's insight about how most of us are making a dime instead of making a living is a powerful reminder of the reality many of us face. We've been conditioned to think that work, our jobs, are the foundation of our lives. We tell ourselves that as long as we're earning a paycheck, we're doing okay. But what happens when the paycheck becomes our reason for existing? What happens when our jobs consume our time, our energy, and our mental space, leaving us with little to show for it except exhaustion and a sense of emptiness? When you start to see it through the lens of trading your life energy, it becomes clear, we are not just working for money, we're working for the time and energy that we could be spending on things that bring us joy, fulfillment, and meaning. Every hour we spend at work, every day we trade in exchange for a paycheck, is time we can never get back. And if we're not intentional about how we spend that time, it can feel like we're sacrificing our very lives for a system that doesn't always have our best interests at heart. Robin's words challenge us to rethink the way we see work. When we realize that we're trading our life energy, we begin to understand the urgency of making choices that serve our lives, not just our bank accounts. We can start to ask ourselves, is this job worth the energy I'm giving it? Does it align with my deeper values? Am I using my time and skills in a way that supports the life I want to live, or am I simply existing to support a job? This shift in perspective can be incredibly freeing. It encourages us to reframe how we spend our time. We no longer see work as the centerpiece of our lives, but as just one part of a larger picture. We can begin to choose activities, relationships, and passions that truly matter to us, things that make us feel alive and connected to a greater purpose. Whether it's pursuing a passion project, spending more time with family, engaging in meaningful hobbies, or simply taking time to rest and recharge, every choice now becomes an investment in our well-being, not just our income. The question that so many people face, whether they love their jobs or not, is how to find a balance between money and life. We are often trapped in a cycle where work dictates how much time we have for everything else. But this cycle doesn't have to define us. When we recognize that there's more to life than just working to earn money, we can begin to prioritize what truly brings us joy and fulfillment. We can break free from the idea that work should be all-consuming, and instead choose to live a life where work supports our happiness, not the other way around. In this process, we start to reimagine what it means to truly make a living. It's not just about having a job that pays the bills, it's about creating a life that reflects our values and our purpose. When we work with intention, we are no longer at the mercy of our jobs, but are empowered to shape our own path. It's a reminder that time is our most valuable resource, and how we spend it should always align with what truly matters to us, not just what we think we need to survive. By shifting our focus from working to survive to living with purpose, we begin to make a life, not just a living. The problem with our approach to work and money is that it's often dictated by a set of pre-programmed beliefs that society has ingrained in us. These beliefs, what we think is normal or acceptable for our lives, tend to become invisible. We live by them without ever questioning whether they truly serve us. We start our first job, and if we're honest, it might suck. But instead of stopping to ask ourselves, is this really the life I want, we stick with it because everyone else seems to be doing the same thing. We convince ourselves that it's the only option, that it's just the way things are. But here's the truth, there is no single rule that we have to follow. Society has set up this race for us, with a clear finish line: get a job, work from 9 to 5, save for retirement, and maybe someday, you'll be happy. But what if that's not the only way to live? What if we decided to take a step back, to question the status quo, and rethink everything we've been taught about money, work, and success? Maybe, just maybe, quitting the race and reconsidering our choices could be the best thing we've ever done. Vicki challenges us to see this truth more clearly. If the daily grind was truly fulfilling, the frustrations, long hours, and exhaustion would feel like a small price to pay. If we could truly believe that our work was making the world a better place, we wouldn't mind sacrificing sleep, social time, and personal joy. But here's the thing, most of us aren't making the world a better place through our work. And even if we were, we still wouldn't feel the kind of satisfaction that money promises us. Once our basic needs are met, money begins to lose its power to bring us true happiness. Sure, buying things gives us momentary pleasure or the thrill of showing off, but it doesn't last. The new car, the bigger house, the shiny gadgets, they only offer a temporary high, and eventually, the cycle starts again. We work harder, buy more, and yet the happiness remains elusive. This is where the real issue lies. We have been led to believe that we have no choice. The idea of the 9 to 5 till you're 65 pattern feels like a trap we must accept. We get stuck in the rhythm of earning, spending, and working, day after day, because that's what we've been told is normal. Everyone's doing it, so it must be the right way, right? It's as though we've been handed a script, and we're too afraid to improvise, too afraid to step off the well-worn path. We justify this, making a dying existence by telling ourselves we don't have any other options. We say, another day, another dollar, or everybody's gotta make a living. It feels like there's no way out. There are bills to pay, a lifestyle to maintain, and an identity that we believe we must uphold. But here's the radical thought: what if that's all just a story we've been told? What if we could choose a different story, one where we aren't defined by our jobs or the things we buy? As Robin points out, the pattern of working endlessly just to survive isn't written in stone. It's a relatively recent construct in human history. For most of humanity's existence, the 9 to 5 didn't exist. But today, it has become so pervasive, so unquestioned, that it feels like the only way to live. This pattern is the very thing that keeps us trapped, believing we have no other choice but to stay stuck on this hamster wheel. But what if we chose to reject that story? What if we allowed ourselves to ask, what if I could do something different? Taking the time to step off the treadmill of societal expectations, to question the way we've been living, is perhaps the most liberating thing we can do for ourselves. It's not easy. It requires us to confront our fears, to challenge the norm, and to be brave enough to explore the possibility of a different life. But when we realize that we don't have to live according to other people's rules, we open up a world of opportunities. We can begin to design lives that actually bring us joy, fulfillment, and meaning, lives that align with our values, not just our paychecks. So, let's start asking the hard questions. Let's question the status quo. Let's stop accepting, this is the way it is, and start asking, what if it could be different? The path might not be clear right now, but the freedom to explore it is ours to claim. And in doing so, we might just find that living fully and authentically is the greatest reward we could ever achieve. Finding your point of enough is nothing short of a revelation, a moment of pure, life-altering clarity that shatters the chains of societal pressure and the never-ending cycle of more. It's like discovering a secret door to a world where you're no longer trapped in the rat race, endlessly chasing after shiny objects that promise happiness but leave you feeling emptier than before. This is the moment when you realize you don't need more to be happy. You've already got everything you need, right here, right now. And that, my friend, is the power of finding your enough. Can you feel that? The weight lifting off your shoulders, the endless pressure to upgrade your life melting away. The moment you understand what your enough is, you're no longer a slave to the world's definition of success. You don't need a bigger house, a fancier car, or a higher salary to prove you're worthy of happiness. You know, deep in your soul, that the truth is much more profound. Happiness isn't hidden in the next purchase or the next promotion, it's already inside you, waiting for you to claim it. This is where everything changes. No longer do you have to spend your days clawing your way up the corporate ladder, stressed out and exhausted, just to find that the view from the top is just as bleak as the one from the bottom. No longer do you need to sacrifice your precious time, your irreplaceable energy, and your irreplaceable life just to buy things that don't add any real meaning to your existence. Instead, you get to live from a place of abundance, not in material possessions, but in inner peace, fulfillment, and clarity. Can you imagine what it would feel like to finally be free from that nagging desire for more? To step off the hedonic treadmill and breathe for the first time in years. That's what happens when you find your enough. You no longer need to live paycheck to paycheck, scrambling just to make ends meet. You no longer need to worry about what's next, because you've already arrived. You're living your life with intention, with purpose, with peace. You stop falling for the lie that more is better. You realize that the things you once thought you needed, those material possessions, those status symbols, are nothing more than distractions, keeping you from what you truly crave, true happiness, peace, and fulfillment. The world tells you to want more, to work harder, to hustle endlessly, but when you discover your enough, you realize that the real treasure is the freedom to live life on your terms, to stop constantly pushing and start simply being. And here's the kicker. When you find your enough, the world stops feeling like a competition. You stop comparing yourself to others, stop measuring your worth by the size of your paycheck or the number of followers on social media. You understand that the only thing that truly matters is the quality of your life, not the quantity of your possessions. And suddenly, life becomes so much richer, so much fuller, so much more vibrant. It's like you've been living in black and white and now, everything is in technicolor. Once you embrace your point of enough, you stop trading your life energy for things that don't matter. You stop chasing after that elusive, never-ending horizon of more. Instead, you stand firm in the knowledge that what you have right now is all you truly need. And in that realization, you unlock a level of freedom that most people will never know, because they're still stuck in the trap of thinking they need more, and more, and more. You don't have to play by the rules that society has set for you. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses or the Kardashians. You don't have to sacrifice your mental and physical health, your relationships, or your dreams just to climb a corporate ladder that leads to nowhere. Instead, you get to redefine what success looks like for you. You get to choose your own path, at your own pace, with the peace of mind that comes from knowing that you have enough. So, what if you lived from a place of enough? What if you woke up every morning knowing that everything you need is already within reach? Can you feel the freedom that comes with that? Can you sense how much more peaceful, more joyful, more fulfilling your life would be? The moment you find your point of enough, your entire world will shift. And you'll realize, in that moment of awakening, that all the things you've been chasing were never the answer. The answer was within you the whole time. You stopped falling for the lie that more is better. You realized that the things you once thought you needed, those material possessions, those status symbols, are nothing more than distractions, keeping you from what you truly crave, true happiness, peace, and fulfillment. The world tells you to want more, to work harder, to hustle endlessly, but when you discover your enough, you realize that the real treasure is the freedom to live life on your terms, to stop constantly pushing and start simply being. And here's the kicker, when you find your enough, the world stops feeling like a competition. You stop comparing yourself to others, stop measuring your worth by the size of your paycheck or the number of followers on social media. You understand that the only thing that truly matters is the quality of your life, not the quantity of your possessions. And suddenly, life becomes so much richer, so much fuller, so much more vibrant. It's like you've been living in black and white, and now, everything is in technicolor. Once you embrace your point of enough, you stop trading your life energy for things that don't matter. You stop chasing after that elusive, never-ending horizon of more. Instead, you stand firm in the knowledge that what you have right now is all you truly need. And in that realization, you unlock a level of freedom that most people will never know, because they're still stuck in the trap of thinking they need more, and more, and more. You don't have to play by the rules that society has set for you. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses or the Kardashians. You don't have to sacrifice your mental and physical health, your relationships, or your dreams just to climb a corporate ladder that leads to nowhere. Instead, you get to redefine what success looks like for you. You get to choose your own path, at your own pace, with the peace of mind that comes from knowing that you have enough. So, what if you lived from a place of enough? What if you woke up every morning knowing that everything you need is already within reach? Can you feel the freedom that comes with that? Can you sense how much more peaceful, more joyful, more fulfilling your life would be? The moment you find your point of enough, your entire world will shift. And you'll realize, in that moment of awakening, that all the things you've been chasing were never the answer. The answer was within you the whole time. This is not just a financial shift, this is a spiritual awakening. When you find your enough, you're stepping into a life of abundance, a life of clarity, a life that is not dictated by external pressures but by your inner compass. It's about living with intention. It's about living with purpose. And it's about living with the profound realization that you are already enough, that you don't need more to be whole. So, stop running the race. Stop chasing the horizon. Find your enough, and watch your life transform in ways you never thought possible. Because when you embrace enough, you realize that you've already arrived. Treating every purchase as trading your life energy is a paradigm shift that transforms the way we view money. Imagine if every time you reached for your wallet, you had to ask yourself, am I willing to trade an hour of my life for this? Suddenly, that £1 candy bar or £50,000 car doesn't seem like just a simple exchange of money for goods, it becomes a reflection of how you value your time, your energy, and ultimately, your life. What if I told you that, every time you spend, you're not just losing money, you're actually giving away something far more precious, your life energy. The time you spent working, the mental energy used to earn that paycheck, the effort it took to build the skills you've developed, that's your life energy. And when you buy something, you're essentially trading a piece of your life for it. Sounds heavy, right? But it's this understanding that can bring true clarity to how we choose to spend. Without a conscious framework to guide us, we often find ourselves spending without thinking, chasing after fleeting desires or succumbing to marketing tricks that push us into impulsive buys. But when you start to see money as an exchange for your life energy, it's no longer just about getting things. It's about asking yourself if these things truly add value to your life or if they merely distract from what really matters. A 1-pound candy bar may seem harmless on the surface, but it's still a choice that represents time and energy traded. Sure, it's a small amount, but imagine that same perspective applied to every purchase you make in a day. Those little choices add up, and over time, they can either lead you towards a life of fulfillment or a life of clutter. Think about it. If you're buying something simply because it's a temporary pleasure or a quick fix, ask yourself, is that £1 or £50,000 worth a moment of your life? Or would your time and energy be better spent on things that really bring you joy, growth, and fulfillment? When you understand the real cost of each purchase, whether it's a quick impulse buy or a major investment, you start to make smarter, more intentional choices. It's not about being stingy or depriving yourself of what you want, it's about aligning your purchases with your values. Does that £50,000 Tesla make your life more meaningful, or is it just a shiny object that temporarily boosts your ego? Does that £1 candy bar make you feel better in the long run, or does it just add to the clutter and guilt? Every purchase you make should be an expression of what you value most in life. If your purchase aligns with your core values and brings genuine joy or fulfillment, then it's a win, no matter the cost. But if it's just a temporary distraction or a way to fill a void that can't be satisfied, it's time to reassess. This shift in perspective isn't about eliminating all indulgences, it's about being intentional with your energy and time. The goal is to minimize the clutter, whether physical, mental, or emotional, that drains your life energy. If it's not helping you live your best, most meaningful life, it doesn't belong in your world. When you start treating every purchase as a trade-off of your life energy, you become a master of your own financial destiny. You no longer spend mindlessly, and you certainly don't overspend on things that don't contribute to your happiness. You are empowered to make choices that support your true desires, values, and goals, leading to a life that's not only more fulfilled but also more intentional. So, next time you're about to make a purchase, stop and ask yourself, am I really willing to trade my time and energy for this? Your answer will guide you toward choices that bring you true fulfillment, and ultimately, a life well lived. Becoming aware of what truly brings fulfillment to your life, and what doesn't, is a transformative process. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the things you've been buying, the things you've been working so hard to afford, aren't bringing you any closer to happiness. They're just distractions, pulling you further from a life of true fulfillment. This is where Vicki Robin's approach, marking each purchase with a plus for things that bring joy, a 0 for things that don't impact your life, and a dash for things that drain you, comes into play. At first, it may feel strange to track every purchase like this, but over time, it reveals a pattern. We often find that, without even realizing it, we buy more and more unnecessary things, things that promise happiness but deliver only temporary satisfaction, or worse, no satisfaction at all. It's eye-opening, really. By tracking our spending and rating it based on how much fulfillment it actually provides, we become more conscious of our buying habits. Do we really need that extra gadget, or did we buy it out of habit? Does that new pair of shoes really make us feel better, or are we simply trying to fill a void that can't be satisfied by more things? The act of labeling every purchase as plus, zero, or brings a level of self-awareness that most of us are missing in our day-to-day lives. Here's the kicker: once we begin to recognize the dash purchases, those things that don't add value or joy to our lives, we can start eliminating them. And as we do, we make room for the plus purchases, the ones that truly bring meaning, connection, and fulfillment. Suddenly, your spending is not just a way to fill your home or your closet, it's a deliberate reflection of your values, your priorities, and your sense of purpose. The beauty of this process is that it's not about depriving yourself, it's about making room for the things that matter most. It's about being intentional, aware, and mindful of how we spend our life energy. The more we eliminate those dash items, the distractions, the impulse buys, the things we thought we needed but didn't, the closer we get to a life that feels aligned with who we really are and what we truly want. Awareness, as Vicki suggests, is the key to unlocking this process. The affluence that surrounds us, our society's obsession with bigger, better, more, is the American dream that has lulled us into complacency. We've been asleep, buying things because we thought we should, because it's what everyone else is doing, or because we were told that it would make us happy. But when we question the dream, when we wake up to the truth of what we actually need and want, everything changes. It's not about rejecting all material goods or striving for some minimalist ideal. It's about understanding that not everything we buy needs to be a plus in our lives. By taking the time to evaluate each purchase, we uncover what truly matters to us, and what doesn't. And as we begin to eliminate the dash items, we free ourselves from the cycle of consumerism that leaves us empty and unsatisfied. This process leads to fulfillment. Real, lasting fulfillment that comes from aligning your spending with your values, not with society's expectations or fleeting desires. It's about feeling empowered to say no to the things that drain your life energy, and yes to the things that truly bring joy, purpose, and meaning. So, next time you're faced with a purchase decision, pause and ask yourself, does this align with my values? Will it bring me fulfillment? Is it worth trading my life energy for? In doing so, you'll awaken to a life that's more intentional, more purposeful, and, ultimately, more fulfilling. Being frugal doesn't mean living a life devoid of fun or constantly scrimping and saving every penny. In fact, that traditional view of frugality is what keeps so many people trapped in a cycle of financial stress and deprivation. Instead, true frugality, as Vicki outlines, is about something much deeper and more intentional, choosing to spend your life energy wisely. Imagine your life energy as a finite resource, something that you can never get back once spent. The time, effort, and energy you invest in your job, your work, and your life are precious, so why would you want to waste them on things that don't truly add value to your life? That's where the concept of frugality, in the sense of financial independence, comes into play. It's not about restricting yourself, but rather about making smarter, more thoughtful choices. Frugality, in this sense, means you only spend your energy on things that are truly worth it, things that align with your values, your passions, and your purpose. It's not about depriving yourself of joy or satisfaction, but instead about ensuring that the things you purchase, the experiences you invest in, and the time you spend are genuinely fulfilling. For example, think about that latest gadget you're tempted to buy. Will it bring long-lasting joy? Or will it sit in a drawer collecting dust after a few months? What about the clothes you're eyeing? Are they really going to enhance your life, or are they just another item to clutter your closet? Frugality is about asking these questions before making purchases. It's about being deliberate and conscious in your choices, ensuring that every purchase brings value to your life and helps you move toward a richer, more meaningful existence. Frugality is enjoying the virtue of getting good value for every minute of your life energy and from everything you have the use of. This quote encapsulates the true essence of frugality. It's not about pinching pennies or giving up fun. It's about making sure that every dollar you spend, every piece of time and energy you invest, is worthwhile. Every purchase should be an investment in your future happiness, your mental and emotional well-being, and your financial stability. True frugality doesn't just help you save money, it helps you save your life energy for things that truly matter. It allows you to focus on what you love, to create the life you want, and to avoid the trap of constantly chasing more stuff or experiences that don't bring real joy. It's about making intentional choices, ensuring that your resources, your time, your energy, and your money, are spent in ways that align with the person you want to become and the life you want to lead. So, the next time you're about to make a purchase or make a big decision, ask yourself, is this worth my life energy? If the answer is yes, then you're making a decision aligned with true frugality. If it's no, then you've just saved yourself from wasting your most valuable resource, and that's the real power of frugality. We've all been there, the impulse buy, the moment of weakness when you purchase something just to fill a void. It could be anything, a shiny new phone, a trendy outfit, a brand new car, but deep down, you know it's not truly going to make you happy. It's a temporary fix, a fleeting moment of joy that fades almost as quickly as it appeared. Why do we do this? The answer often lies in a desire for validation. In today's world, it's easy to get swept up in the cycle of trying to impress others, seeking external approval through the things we own. The clothes we wear, the gadgets we buy, the cars we drive, they all become symbols, not of who we truly are, but of how we want to be seen. We measure our worth by what we have, hoping that these external validations will fill an inner emptiness. But, as Vicki so wisely points out, these material things are simply false solutions to deeper, more complex emotional needs. People don't need enormous cars, they need respect. They don't need closets full of clothes, they need to feel attractive and they need excitement and variety and beauty. People don't need electronic equipment, they need something worthwhile to do with their lives. People need identity, community, challenge, acknowledgement, love, and joy. This quote lays bare the core of why we're so often drawn to buy unnecessary things. We're seeking fulfillment in the wrong places. The enormous car. It's not about the car itself, it's about wanting to feel respected and admired by others. The clothes piling up in your closet. It's not about the fabric or the brand name, it's about feeling attractive and worthy. The new electronics. They're often a stand-in for the deeper desire for purpose and connection in life. The danger lies in the fact that we often mistake these temporary distractions for lasting solutions to our real problems. We buy things to feel better about ourselves, to fill the voids in our lives, but as soon as the excitement of a new purchase wears off, we're left feeling just as empty as before, sometimes even more so. And so the cycle continues. The psychological emptiness that results from this can be overwhelming, driving us to constantly crave more, only to find ourselves trapped in the very system we're trying to escape. The key to breaking this cycle is to decode why we make these purchases. What are we truly seeking when we buy that new item? Are we trying to prove something to others? Are we attempting to fill an emotional void with something that can never truly satisfy us? By asking ourselves these questions, we can begin to shift our focus from external validation to internal fulfillment. Instead of looking outward for validation, we must turn inward. True respect, happiness, and joy come not from what we own, but from who we are and how we engage with the world around us. When we stop seeking validation in material possessions, we are freed from the never-ending chase for more and can start living a life that's truly aligned with our values and deeper needs. Once we stop trying to fill emotional gaps with purchases, we can start to focus on the things that truly bring us happiness, meaningful relationships, personal growth, and the pursuit of our passions. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but with awareness and effort, we can free ourselves from the need to constantly validate our worth through the things we own. And when we do, we'll find that what we truly need, respect, love, joy, and fulfillment, is already within us, not in a new purchase.